Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, one of the reasons why we had asked the director of BBMR to break out the expenditures for the military buildup, so we can really see if this pro forma originally included the military buildup expenditure or not. You know, as you see the total revenues increasing from fiscal year to year from 13, 14, 15, I just call to your attention that the baseline projections, for example, general government, it's decreased from 47.5 million down to 46.2, and then down to 46, and then, you know, further down to 45.4. I mean, if you want us to just have blind faith here, Mr. Chairman, don't you think that if the revenues are increasing, then there should be an increase in organic growth in the expenditure side? If you look at the protection of life and property, you also see a significant decrease from 95.1 million in fiscal year 2003, and then at the time of the buildup, just our baseline operations, not considering the military buildup requirements and expenditures to sustain those requirements, you're telling us that it's going to be decreased down to $92.4 million?
Yeah,
I can go down to the next category under public health. Public health, Mr. Chairman, at a time when our population is going to increase because of the anticipated buildup, and granted you put 3.6 million for public health, but if you look at you're proposing to go from 57.9 million down to 56.3. I mean, I would imagine that if you just at the surface, not understanding or seeing the methodology to which you've developed your pro forma, just on the theory alone, it doesn't make sense.
Just on the normal growth, retirement fund growth.
Yeah. Just on your, when you're, just like what we said when we saw that, when originally I looked at your pro forma, and I saw that for the 10-year period, you were flatlining the tax refund provision at 109 million straight across, but your revenues were going up. You know, just eyeballing it, we suspected that you were underfunding this pro forma by about $100 million. When you came back the other day and started showing that you've gone from 109 million to 114, then 114, and then you're, I mean, I took all those numbers straight across, subtracted it by the 109 million, and you shortchanged this pro forma by about $94.6 million that you did not capture in this 10-year period. And you know, Mr. Chairman, I think this is where rubber hits the road, and when they keep talking about this huge bond, the $343 million that you want to float, I'm very upset that the response we get is that, oh, we don't have to pay full debt service until 2017. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go out and get a car loan, and I'm going to have this 6 months deferred payment. And then after 6 months, I'll just figure out how I'm going to pay that. And I'm trying to break it down to what we face in our own household budgets, whether or not we're going to take out a $5,000 personal loan or whether or not we're going to buy a new car. And if you expect the people to understand why we're faced with this difficult decision, maybe we just have to break it down in those terms rather than just saying, you know, these are tax refunds that's owed to them. How reckless of a statement is that to say that this is the people's money, we should just pay them? I'd rather owe taxpayers than owe the bank. Because maybe at some point throughout this exercise, Mr. Chairman, we can go through a scenario of what it would mean like if the government of Guam defaults on this bond service. Even 2019, 2020, we'll still be around. But what in the likelihood that if this bond is floated at this level, and you're coming out of the gate, you're deficient because, as Senator Ada pointed out, and Senator BJ, you're just factoring in what it would cost at 5.5% but you're asking us to give you up to 8%. So why don't we start a scenario based on the worst case scenario? And then if you come back and your projections are 8% payment on a debt service, and you come back and you got it for 5.5%, then we can start feeling good about what we've done. But what would happen if we default on this bond and the government of Guam went into bankruptcy? We're already kind of in a receivership with our solid waste and mental health, but have you guys brainstormed on what it would look like if we went through a bankruptcy and the government of Guam had to liquidate its assets? I'd rather owe the taxpayer, Mr. Chairman, than have someone own the government of Guam.
I think it would mean a tax increase.
Well, that's the inevitable, right? Or the selling of valuable government assets.
Forward-thinking and just looking at 2017 for when the debt service is due. I don't think we've said that we're not thinking that it will continue on after that. What we're saying is that based on what we had come up with, that there was sufficient revenues to cover debt service. Now, I can generate 1,000 spreadsheets, and you know that. And so can you, and we can keep arguing this.
You can also generate. I'm offended by that statement. Stop for
not paying UTRs.
Stop for a second, please. You can also generate 10,000 bond proposals.
If it's not paid, continue to escalate in interest expense, and then that I can show you how. If we don't pay UTRs, we don't have the money right now to do that. Next year, I'm going to add on probably 50 to another 75 million of unpaid UTRs. Now you keep compounding that over the 10 or 20 years, you're going to see how cheap this bond would be compared to the interest that you're going to be paying.
No, because
and you're not locked into
no,
that
because the interest, you would pay the oldest one first, Bernie, and you're calculating it as if you are not going to pay any past due interest at all and paying current. And that's how you're figuring out this $1.9 billion to borrow. But it's just crazy to think that it would cost $1.9 billion.
Able to pay the tax.
I know, but if you pay the oldest one first.
We don't have a plan to pay the refund. This is the only plan available.
This is the plan that's on the table. I understand that. And the question you have, Senator Respicio.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm very, very upset about that comment that, Bernie, you just made, that you can generate 1,000 spreadsheets. You've also generated 1,000 different bond borrowing proposals, right? So let's just go down.